Hello, and on today we will be checking out the Big Golden Book version of the Great Race movie. Okay, so this is the Golden Book that goes with the movie, and this video from here on, you have been warned, will contain spoilers about the movie. Although this book does not follow the movie exactly, it will reveal some plots that are consistent with the movie. If you do not want to be spoiled and know some of those things, do not watch this video now, but you can always tag it and come back and watch it after the movie has come out, okay? Okay, without further ado, here we go. The Great Race movie, Big Golden Book. All right, so on the front you have this beautiful picture of Thomas and Ashima, and the background is definitely at the Great Race. Okay? The illustrator for this book is Tommy Stubbs, as he has done all the other ones that we have done, and I'll put a link to all of those books that we have covered, either animated or just read books. I will put a link in this video to that video. All right, here we go. It says, one sunny day on the island of Sodor, Thomas the tank engine chuffed into Vickerstown station and saw a shiny new engine. Gordon pulled up next to Thomas and sighed. "That's my brother. They call him the Flying Scotsman." All right, and there is the Flying Scotsman. Beautiful picture. Right there. All right, and it says the new engine said he was going to the Great Railway Show on the mainland. That's where engines compete to see who's the fastest and the strongest. Well, I'm not sure if any engines from Sodor will be going. Thomas's rods rattled with excitement. He really wanted to go. Thomas found Sir Topham Hatt and suggested that some streamlining be added to an engine from Sodor so it could win races at the show. "That's an excellent idea," Sir Topham Hatt said. "Once he's been streamlined, Gordon will be faster than ever." Gordon? That's not what Thomas had in mind. The next day, a railway ferry made a very exciting delivery to Brendam Docks. Thomas watched as engines from all over the world rode ashore. "Where are you going?" the dock manager asked. "The Great Railway Show," plus a streamlined Belgian engine. And we know that that engine that they're talking about's name is Axel. Okay? But anyway, "That's happening on the mainland," the manager replied. The engines jolted and pushed past Thomas as they returned to the ferry. Okay? So they said, this ain't where we want to be at. Okay. A brightly painted engine named Ashima rushed for the departing ferry and bumped into Thomas. "Whoa!" he peeped as he teetered on the edge of the quay. Dock workers quickly wrapped a chain around Thomas' coupling hook. With Ashima's help, they pulled him back from the edge. Ashima apologized for bumping Thomas and asked if there was another way to the mainland since she now missed her ferry. But Thomas did not answer. He just chugged away in a huff. "I don't see why she should get to go to the Great Railway Show," Thomas puffed to his carriages. "Well, she's very beautifully painted," Clarabelle suggested. "Any engine can get painted," Thomas puffed. Suddenly, Thomas had another idea. He unhooked his carriages and sped to the steamworks. Thomas told Victor he needed to be repainted. "I was thinking maybe lightning bolts and racing stripes." But just as Victor went to work, Sir Topham had stopped by to check on Gordon's streamline. He liked the idea of a speedy-looking paint job, but not for Thomas. Meanwhile, over at the diesel works, Diesel had an idea of his own. He wanted to disguise Paxton, Den, and Dart as his trucks and pretend to pull them. "I'll look like I'm pulling a very heavy train all by myself," he announced with a snicker. "And if Sir Topham Hatt thinks I'm stronger than Henry, he'll take me to the great railway show instead." Later that day, Thomas met Ashima again. She didn't understand why Thomas had wanted to be painted like her. "You can only be you," she tooted. "Every engine I've ever known was useful and had a job they could do." Ashima asked Thomas if he was good at shunting and sorting trucks. "Yes," he peeped, and then he had his best idea yet for going to the great railway show. "I'll show Sir Topham Hatt what I can do best." The next morning, Thomas went to Nadford Station to practice his shunting, but the rails were blocked by Diesel's tricky trucks. Thomas decided to move them himself. "What are you doing?" Diesel hissed. "You'll spoil my trick." The disguised Diesel started to chug along with Thomas. He was surprised how easily everything moved and how quickly. There was a red signal ahead. Thomas tried to stop, but the Diesels kept pushing because they couldn't hear the warning bell. Crash! Thomas collided with a passing engine named Norman. Uh-oh. It was the day of the great railway show, and all the engines Sir Topham had chosen was ready to go. Gordon had been painted and streamlined. He even had a new nameplate, the Shooting Star. Sir Topham had wanted Thomas to go to the shunting challenge, but now Thomas needed to be repaired after his accident. Percy would go in his place. Thomas tooted goodbye to the engines. He even wished Ashima good luck. Later that morning, Victor and Kevin discovered that Gordon's safety valve had never been installed after his streamlining. Without the valve, Gordon could dangerously overheat during the race. Even though his own repairs weren't finished, Thomas took the valve and streamlined across the Vickerstown Bridge to the mainland. Thomas reached the great railway show. He eagerly searched the crowds of visiting engines and found Gordon on the starting line of the great race. But Gordon would listen to Thomas. "Nonsense. The team at the steamwork is very efficient, and besides, the race is starting now." A whistle blew, green flags waved, and the engines took off. Gordon raced along the tracks, passing engines. "Shooting Star coming through," he announced loudly, but suddenly his face turned red, and steam hissed from inside his streamliner. Gordon's brother, the Flying Scotsman, tried to warn him that something was wrong, but Gordon wouldn't listen until his boiler burst. He sputtered to a stop in a cloud of steam as the other engines sped on. Oh, the indignity, he peeped. Meanwhile, over at the shunting challenge, Percy was too scared to enter the race. He wanted Thomas to compete in his place. "Okay," Thomas peeped, "but I might lose, you know." But Thomas didn't lose. He chuffed through round after round, pulling tankers and flatbeds into line. He beat big engines from Russia, Italy, and Brazil. In the end, there were only 2 engines left, Thomas and Ashima. A whistle blew and the final challenge began. The 2 engines steamed back and forth, buffering boxcars into place. Soon their sidings were full and it was a race to the finish line. But then Thomas noticed an overturned truck on Ashima's track. He sped along to push it out of her way. Ashima raced to victory. "Thomas, you let me win," Ashima peeped. "I know," Thomas replied, "but it wouldn't have been fair. Your track was blocked." Soon after, everyone gathered for the award ceremony. We would like to declare 2 winners in the shunting challenge, announced the judge. Ashima had won for the fastest time, and Thomas has also won for helping his competitor. All of the engines whistled and cheered. Even Gordon's brother, the Flying Scotsman, admitted that he was impressed with the engines from Sodor. So Topham Hatt was proud of Thomas for being really useful and very thoughtful too. He was just being himself, sir, peeped Percy. You can only be you, Thomas puffed. He winked at Ashima. There's nothing else you can possibly do. The end. All right. So that is it. And the last page says, in the early 1940s, a loving father crafted a small blue wooden engine for his son Christopher. The stories this father, the Reverend W. Audrey, made up to accompany the wonderful toy were first published in 1945. Reverend Audrey continued to create new adventures and characters until 1972 when he retired from writing. Also says, Tommy Stubbs has been an illustrator for several decades. Lately, he has been illustrating the newest tales of Thomas and his engine friends, including Hero of the Rails, Misty Island Rescue, Day of the Diesels, Blue Mountain Mystery, and King of the Railway. All right. And on the back of the Golden Book, it says Thomas competes with amazing engines all over the world in a storybook based on the new Thomas and Friends movie adventure, The Great Race. All right. So that is it. And this is Thomas. Thanks for watching.